Now, a whole lot of people out there have opinions on what investing looks like in Austin. And the fact of the matter is, a ton has changed. Over the last couple years, Austin saw some of the highest highs in all of the country. And of course, we saw some of the highest drops. What goes up must come down. But market's been pretty stable lately, despite high interest rates, but we'll see what happens with those next year. But in this video, I want to take out all the opinions that you're going to see on the internet and really dive into some numbers, some actual examples statistically of why I think there's a lot of opportunity in investing in duplexes in Austin in 2025. Now, if you read on the internet, again, some people say, oh, you should invest in land. A whole bunch of people reach out, you should invest in single family, and there's good arguments for all of them. And, I've got a whole bunch of you guys, my clients, who reach out, who are looking for different things. And, one of the biggest caveats to this can be knowledge, which is actually funny because we're filming this in Mueller. One of the biggest explosions that we saw pre-COVID, really, where no one wanted to live here, and now it's the hopping place to be. But anyways, in this video, I want to jump into two different examples of why I think a duplex might be worth looking into in 2025. Now, my name is Mason Bleasdell. I am an Austin real estate agent, and I've got a good bit of investor clients, some who span all different types. And there's honestly a lot of potential in investing in everything, whether it's raw land, of course they say in real estate, location, location, location. And I do truly think that holds weight. And we've seen that throughout history. And of course, Austin too has almost doubled every 10 years or so. We seem to have, boom, steady, going back as far as we have really good data, which back to about the 70s. So the last 50 years tell a good story here. However, duplexes in Austin are a little bit different. Now, a lot of my East and West Coast folks, where multifamily homes are very, very common and, usually can span the wide range of being really high end versus low end. Austin's an interesting market. There really isn't very much multifamily here, and most of it that was built pre-2000. So most of them are aging a little bit, and a lot of the new construction that you'll see has what looks like multifamily, like they share the same foundation, are usually individually deeded townhomes. Now, in Texas, there's no legal definition between a townhome, but you do actually own the structure, you own the roof, but you have your own unit, or they're condo style. These duplexes are fairly uncommon. However, I think there's a pretty interesting opportunity here. So in this video, I pulled out some statistics that I want to go over just to show you why I think these are interesting. I pulled out 78745, which is a zip code south of Austin, right between Mopac and I-35, which is kind of the trendy, very historically Austin neighborhood. Very, very fun, and there's a good bit of data that I have to draw from there, as well as 78758. If you're familiar with Austin, you've probably heard of the Domain, the big shopping center that's kind of the place to be, live music, lots of restaurants, shopping. It's a really fun place to be. Austin coined as, Austin's second downtown. Pulled out some stats from there. Want to dive into comparing single family to duplex. I'm going to throw out some example mortgage numbers of, again, why I think duplexes could be advantageous to purchase. And then at the end, I want to talk about, some of the things just to be aware of, to think about. And it's one of the bigger reasons why, a lot of my clients won't go the multifamily route that most people don't think about. They get really excited for, and then skip over. So let's jump straight in. 78745, that South Austin zip code. I'm going to put up on the screen right now, a full graph of the duplex sales. Obviously, there's less duplexes to have sales data on, but from these averages for the last 6 months, as of the time of recording this video, we saw an average sales price at $508,500 and a median at $512,500. Now, digging into this, if you actually look up a little bit, min versus max, it's interesting actually to see this because this also says there might be a lot of flip opportunity in duplexes, maybe buying something a little bit distressed, putting some money into refurbishing it and potentially flipping it. Very, very interesting to think about. But in this one, we're just going to talk about long-term. You're looking 10 plus years out. So those are very interesting. You'll also notice the average days on market is 51 days, median is 32. The sales of duplexes are actually pretty strong. Now, of course, the market for them is a lot smaller. Not everybody wants to buy a duplex or live in one. You're typically only looking at investor types or maybe house hackers. Supply is restricted down as well. If we flip over to single family home sales, you'll see that in the last 3 months, 90 of those have sold with a median at $477,500 and an average at $571,000. one, 500. You'll also note, interestingly, average days on market for both of those is higher in single families. Just an interesting note to talk about. But what I really want to jump into is flipping over to duplex rent prices, because these are very interesting. Now, these are per side, so these are the individual sides. That average is $1,713 a month, whereas the median's $1,600 per month. That's pretty strong if you start to double it, and I'm gonna get to mortgage numbers here in a second. And if we compare that to single family home rent prices, we're seeing average, now this is for the whole house, of $2,477, median of $2,373. And you can see the average days on market at that very last column for both of these. This is where it gets interesting. Now, this has not seemingly historically been the case. Now, I ran mortgage numbers here. I'll put those on the screen. These are just ballparks, assuming you're putting 30% down, which is typically normal to get the most advantageous interest rate right now, because investor money for mortgages is very hard to come across these days. Those interest rates are gonna be higher, but I'm ballparking here. 30% down, 7.5% investor interest rate. You can see, what all the closing costs add up to. This is, again, just an estimate, but check out that total monthly payment after PITI. Duplexes are actually starting to make a little bit more sense. Now, again, this depends on a lot of factors, but supply and demand, the supply of these duplexes is fairly restricted versus single family homes. This actually could be really interesting. Now, for a second option, I want to jump into 78758, that domain general area in North Austin, because those stats also tell a very similar picture. Now in 78758, we're gonna do the same thing. I wanna compare, first of all, duplex sales prices to single family home sales prices, and then jump into the rents for these. So duplex sales prices, now again, last 6 months, just to get a little bit more data here. At the time of recording this video, the dates are at the bottom of the screen. Average sales price in 78758 was $489,028. Median at $477,812, almost identical actually to the single family. Jumping single family, average $487, median $492. Now you'll see the average days on market between those two is pretty shockingly different. Although, it is worth noting, both of these areas tend to be older era homes. So a lot of these are updated. There's some new construction in here. So, these numbers are gonna be tossed around. Like, take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it is very interesting to compare. Now I wanna jump into, because duplex rent prices are very similar to what we saw down south. Again, this is per side. That average is almost $1,600, and the median is at $1,563 in 78758. Again, strong, not quite as high as 745, but very, very close. Comparing that to single family homes, $2,360 average, and that median at $2,300. Very, very interesting, because if you start to do the math, I'm gonna put the mortgage numbers up on the screen for 78758. I'm just, again, ballparking these, but the same 7.5% interest rate and the same 30% down payment. The duplex kind of sort of makes sense. It's very, very interesting. And if you look back at the sales prices again, just one more time, you've got quite a variation between minimum and maximum in terms of close price. 300 to 610, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity potentially for flips. So what could make sense is buying one of these, maybe not distressed, but outdated, getting some renters in there, build some equity, do your thing. Put some remodel money into one side at a time, when one goes vacant versus the other. And, there could be some flip opportunity, so to speak, on these. It's just very, very interesting. I absolutely think this is something worth looking into, especially if you're in that kind of mid-tier price range, if you're looking to invest, around $500,000 in the Austin market. I think this could be worth looking into in 2025. Now, last point, and this one I want to emphasize big, because this is one of the things that most all the investors I talk to overlook. Don't forget, when you're getting into the duplex market, especially if you're looking to manage these yourselves, you do have double the tenants, which means you will have 2 vacancies every year versus 1 potentially. You also have 2 air conditioners, 2 stoves, 2 water heaters, 2 dishwashers. You've got flooring, all those things. All of these things add up, and you've got twice the running costs. The average air conditioner for, I'm assuming, a 1,500 square foot side of a duplex runs between $8,000 and $10,000. If you lose 2 of those in one summer, after you pay property taxes, that wipes out a year and a half's worth of, quote, profit from one of these. Don't forget about that. When you're buying a single family home, you only have one, so you've got a little bit less risk. Now, the benefit of that, of course, is that you've got two different tenants. So if one side goes vacant, you're still getting contributions towards the mortgage on the other. There's also a lot of people who you can depreciate this home on your taxes, depending on your income and all of that, can be advantageous enough to offset some of the potential losses that you'll see. It's also worth noting, if you want to hire a professional property manager, if you'd like some introductions, I've got some that I can send you. It's not something I do myself. But the average you're going to see around Austin is about 7% per month, 7% of 1 month's rent to manage these. Now, they will take care of everything for you, from finding a new tenant to managing the property day to day. If that air conditioner does break, you'll give them a budget. They will not call you. They'll just take care of it unless it exceeds that budget, those kinds of things. But especially if you are out of state, I've got a lot of investors from other states. Having someone here to manage it for you and deal with the day-to-day, super, super important, and you're just gonna get a check and direct deposit in your bank account every month. So all in all, if you're curious about these, if you wanna talk more specifics about some of the different neighborhoods, what you might think about one of these, and if you're looking for an agent to work for you, to help you buy one of these, walk you through every step of the process, to do as much due diligence as possible, to look at some of these maths and make the most sense of it so you can be confident in your purchase, I would love to be that agent for you. Reach out. My personal contact details are on the screen and down below. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to you, and I will see y'all next time.